Welcome to the International Baccalaureate Environmental Systems and Societies (IBESS) lecture series. In this course, we will explore the complex relationships between humans and the natural environment through systems thinking and evidence-based learning. Topic 1: Foundation Perspectives and Environmental Values. In this lecture series, we will explore how different environmental perspectives and value systems shape the way individuals and societies understand environmental issues and make decisions. We will examine how beliefs, ethics, and worldviews influence attitudes towards conservation, resource use, and sustainability. By understanding these foundations, we can develop critical thinking skills and make informed choices for building a more sustainable future. Let's begin our journey into understanding the relationship between people and the environment. Environmental systems and societies aims to empower and equip students to understand, evaluate, and respond to environmental challenges. First, ESS develops understanding of our own environmental impact and the interconnected relationship between human activities and Earth's biosphere. For example, recognizing how individual consumption patterns contribute to climate change encourages responsible decision-making. Second, students explore diverse cultural, scientific, economic, and ethical perspectives on sustainability, understanding that environmental issues often have multiple viewpoints. Third, ESS promotes critical thinking by engaging students in evaluating environmental tensions, such as balancing economic development with biodiversity conservation. Fourth, the course develops a systems approach, helping students understand how environmental, social, economic, and technological components interact. For instance, renewable energy adoption involves environmental benefits, technological innovation, economic investment, and social acceptance. Finally, ESS inspires students to engage with environmental issues at local and global scales through informed action. Help students learn to think critically, analyze systems, consider multiple perspectives, make responsible decisions, and act for sustainability. Perspective refers to how a particular situation is viewed and understood by an individual. Our perspectives are shaped by a combination of personal assumptions, collective assumptions, and our values and beliefs. Personal assumptions develop through individual experiences, while collective assumptions arise from cultural norms, social traditions, and shared community values. Beliefs and ethical values further influence how we interpret environmental issues. Different perspectives give rise to diverse positions on environmental and social challenges. For example, one person may support strict forest conservation because they value biodiversity, whereas another may prioritize economic development and local employment opportunities. These perspectives directly influence people's choices and actions. They affect how we use natural resources, how we treat others, the issues we advocate for, the products we choose to buy and support, and how we care for the environment. Understanding perspectives is essential in ESS because environmental decisions often involve balancing competing values and viewpoints to achieve sustainable solutions. Perspectives are informed and justified by many factors that shape how individuals understand the world and environmental issues. Sociocultural norms, including traditions, language, and community values, influence behaviors and attitudes toward nature. Scientific understandings provide evidence-based explanations, such as climate science informing views on global warming. Laws and policies establish acceptable actions through regulations like plastic bans or protected area legislation. Religion and spirituality often guide moral responsibilities toward environmental stewardship. Economic conditions, including income levels and access to resources, affect environmental priorities and opportunities. Lived experiences, such as experiencing floods or droughts firsthand, can strongly shape environmental concerns. In addition, local and global events, including natural disasters or international climate agreements, influence public opinion and decision-making. It is important to distinguish between a perspective and an argument. A perspective is a viewpoint shaped by values, experiences, and beliefs, whereas an argument uses evidence, logic, and reasoning to support or challenge that viewpoint. For example, a person may value forest conservation because of ecocentric beliefs, while scientific data on biodiversity loss can be used as an argument to justify protecting forests. Understanding this distinction helps ESS students critically evaluate environmental debates and appreciate diverse viewpoints. Environmental values. Environmental values are the qualities or principles people believe are important and worth protecting in the environment. These values shape how we think, make decisions, and act toward environmental issues. Environmental values influence how we set priorities, make judgments, form perspectives, and take action. For example, someone who highly values biodiversity may support wildlife conservation programs and oppose activities that threaten endangered species. These values are individual but also shared within communities and societies. While personal experiences shape our beliefs, cultural norms and social interactions often reinforce common environmental values. Environmental values are shaped by many influences, including family and friends, culture and traditions, religion and belief systems, community and social norms, and local and global events. For instance, experiencing a severe flood or learning about climate change may strengthen a person's commitment to environmental protection. Examples of environmental values include respect for nature, compassion, justice and fairness, responsibility, creativity, honesty, and simplicity. These values encourage sustainable lifestyles, ethical resource use, and concern for future generations. In essence, environmental values guide what we consider important, influence how we view environmental challenges, and shape the choices we make every day to create a more sustainable future. Values in action, from personal perspectives to community and organizations. Values shape our perspectives and influence how individuals and organizations interact with society and the environment. In our communication and actions within the wider community, values are reflected in what we say, how we treat and respect others, how we participate in community activities, and the choices we make in daily life. For example, a person who values environmental stewardship may choose recycling, reduce waste, and participate in local cleanup campaigns. Values are also evident within organizations through their advertisements and marketing messages, media content and corporate communications, policies and official statements, and the programs and initiatives they implement. For instance, a company committed to sustainability may adopt renewable energy practices, publish environmental reports, and invest in community conservation projects. However, different values often lead to tensions and conflicts. Between individuals, disagreements may arise over issues such as balancing environmental protection with economic development, or lifestyle choices related to consumption, transportation, and diet. For example, some individuals may prioritize job creation through industrial expansion, while others emphasize ecosystem conservation. Similarly, tensions can occur between organizations. Businesses may prioritize profit and growth, whereas environmental organizations may focus on sustainability and social responsibility. Conflicts may also emerge between short-term economic gains and long-term community well-being. The key idea is that values influence how we understand the world and guide organizational behavior. These values are expressed through communication, policies, and actions, and when different values interact, tensions naturally emerge. Understanding these differences helps us engage in informed discussions and work toward balanced and sustainable solutions. Values surveys, investigating perspectives on environmental issues. Values surveys are important tools used to investigate the perspectives held by particular social groups regarding environmental issues. They help us understand what people believe, value, and consider important when making environmental decisions. First, what are values surveys? These surveys focus on specific social groups to explore their values, attitudes, and priorities. They reveal diverse perspectives within a community and help explain different viewpoints on environmental challenges. For example, residents living near a wetland may value it differently, some for biodiversity conservation, others for recreation, tourism, or economic benefits. An effective values survey design should include diverse viewpoints and experiences, use open and balanced questions, avoid leading or biased wording, assess how perspectives influence environmental outcomes, and ensure clarity and cultural sensitivity. This improves the reliability and fairness of the findings. The process moves from survey to understanding and action. Researchers begin by designing the survey, selecting the environmental issue, target group, and appropriate questions. Responses are then collected through questionnaires, interviews, online surveys, or focus groups. The data are analyzed to identify patterns, similarities, and differences in environmental values and priorities. Next, the likely impacts of these perspectives on environmental issues are assessed, and the findings are used to inform communication strategies, policy development, education programs, and community actions. For example, when investigating attitudes toward protecting a local wetland, survey questions may ask, how important is the wetland to community members? What values do they associate with it, such as biodiversity conservation, recreation, or economic use? What conservation actions are they willing to support? The key takeaway is that values surveys make different perspectives visible, demonstrate how these perspectives influence environmental issues, and support inclusive, evidence-based, and informed decision-making for sustainable environmental management. Application of skills on surveying perspectives. Understanding perspectives on environmental and sustainability issues requires systematic data collection, analysis, and interpretation. The first step is to design and collect data using questionnaires, online surveys, interviews, collaborative survey tools, and community feedback methods such as focus groups. Effective surveys should clearly define the purpose, target population, and include unbiased questions. For example, students may survey local residents about attitudes toward reducing plastic waste. The second step is to identify environmental or sustainability issues being investigated. Surveys can explore perspectives on topics such as climate change, plastic pollution, water conservation, renewable energy adoption, waste segregation, and sustainable transportation. Different issues often reveal varying community priorities and concerns. Next, researchers correlate perspectives with attitudes and behaviors. Environmental concern, economic priorities, social responsibility, lifestyle choices, and conservation attitudes can influence willingness to act. For instance, individuals with strong environmental values may demonstrate higher recycling rates or greater participation in conservation initiatives. Appropriate statistical tools are then used to analyze the data. Bar graphs, pie charts, measures of central tendency, correlation analysis, frequency tables, and trend analysis help identify patterns, relationships, and differences among groups. These analyses provide evidence for understanding how perspectives shape behavior. Behavior time graphs can also track lifestyle changes over time, such as increases in recycling frequency or reductions in plastic use following awareness campaigns. This helps evaluate the effectiveness of environmental interventions. Ultimately, these skills enable us to understand diverse perspectives, identify factors influencing behavior, predict potential impacts, inform policies and educational programs, and promote evidence-based, sustainable decision-making. The key takeaway is that well-designed surveys and appropriate analyses help connect environmental perspectives with real-world attitudes and actions. Example: surveying perspectives on plastic pollution. In this example, we investigate perspectives on the environmental issue of single-use plastics within the school community. The aim of the survey is to understand how students' and teachers' perspectives influence their attitudes and behaviors toward reducing plastic waste. Specifically, the survey explores levels of concern about plastic pollution, daily habits related to single-use plastics, factors influencing opinions, and support for reducing or banning plastic use in schools. The target social group includes students from grades 9 to 12, teachers, and school staff. These groups are selected because their different roles and experiences may shape distinct perspectives on environmental issues. In this example, the survey includes 120 respondents, consisting of 96 students, 18 teachers, and 6 staff members. For data collection, questionnaires are administered using online platforms such as Google Forms and Microsoft Forms. Online surveys are efficient because they are easy to distribute, allow anonymous participation, enable rapid response collection, and simplify data analysis. Sample questions investigate participants' concern about plastic pollution, frequency of reusable bottle use, opinions on banning single-use plastics, factors influencing their views, such as environmental protection, convenience, cost, or social influence, and whether they have adopted lifestyle changes to reduce plastic waste. The collected data will then be analyzed using statistical tools and behavior time graphs to identify trends, relationships, and patterns. These findings can support evidence-based sustainability initiatives and help schools develop effective strategies to reduce plastic pollution and promote responsible environmental behavior. Example: surveying perspectives on plastic pollution. This slide shows an analysis of the survey results. After collecting survey responses on the use of single-use plastics in the school community, statistical tools can be used to analyze patterns and behaviors. The results show that 53% of respondents are very concerned about plastic pollution, 27% are moderately concerned, and 20% are not concerned. Regarding sustainable practices, 60% always use reusable water bottles, 30% use them sometimes, while 10% never use them. Additionally, 72% support banning single-use plastics in schools, indicating strong support for environmental action. Correlation analysis reveals a moderate to strong positive relationship, with a Pearson correlation coefficient of R equals plus 0.68, suggesting that individuals with greater environmental concern are more likely to adopt sustainable behaviors, such as using reusable water bottles. Statistical tools including bar graphs, pie charts, frequency tables, and correlation analysis help identify these important relationships. Behavior time graphs demonstrate the effectiveness of awareness campaigns over 6 months. The use of reusable water bottles increased from 45% to 85%, recycling participation rose from 25% to 70%, and efforts to reduce plastic lunch packaging improved from 15% to 60%. These trends indicate that educational interventions can positively influence environmental behavior over time. The findings suggest that attitudes toward plastic pollution are shaped by multiple factors, including environmental concern, convenience, cost considerations, and social influences. Overall, the survey highlights that perspectives significantly influence attitudes and behaviors related to plastic use. In conclusion, collecting and analyzing survey data enables schools to understand community perspectives, monitor behavioral changes, and make informed decisions that support sustainability initiatives and reduce plastic pollution within the school environment. Worldviews and perspectives. Worldviews are the lenses through which groups of people perceive, interpret, and act within their environment. They shape people's values and perspectives through influences such as culture, philosophy, religion, ideology, and politics. First, what are worldviews? A worldview is a set of beliefs and assumptions that influences how people perceive the world, make sense of events and issues, and act in response to environmental challenges. For example, cultural traditions or religious beliefs may shape attitudes toward resource use and conservation practices. People with different beliefs, values, experiences, and interpretations often develop different perspectives, which can lead to diverse actions regarding environmental issues. For instance, one community may prioritize economic development, while another emphasizes biodiversity conservation. The Internet and social media have expanded exposure to global perspectives through diverse voices, ideas, and information. This can broaden understanding and empathy, challenge existing beliefs, but may also create confusion or conflict due to competing viewpoints. Importantly, perspectives are complex and multidimensional. Individuals rarely fit neatly into a single category. Environmental perspectives may include environmentalist, developmentalist, social justice, or traditionalist viewpoints. People's perspectives are influenced by personal experiences, education, community values, media exposure, and life events. As a result, perspectives often overlap and evolve over time. The key takeaway is that understanding diverse worldviews helps us appreciate the complexity of environmental decision-making. By questioning assumptions, seeking multiple viewpoints, remaining open-minded, and reflecting on how our own worldview influences our actions, we can make more informed and responsible decisions for a sustainable future. Environmental value systems. An environmental value system explains how our beliefs, experiences, and social influences shape the way we understand environmental issues and guide our decisions and actions. The process begins with inputs, which are factors influencing our thinking. These include information from media, education and scientific knowledge, worldviews shaped by culture and religion, social and cultural influences from family and community, and political or economic contexts such as laws and policies. For example, learning about climate change through school lessons and documentaries may strengthen concern for environmental protection. These inputs are filtered through our perspectives or our personal lens. Values, beliefs, cultural identity, experiences, emotions, and critical thinking all influence how we interpret environmental information. Because people have different life experiences, perspectives can change over time as new knowledge is gained. Perspectives then lead to outputs. These include our judgments about environmental issues, positions we take on debates, choices we make in daily life, and actions such as recycling, conserving energy, or participating in environmental campaigns. For example, information about climate change combined with personal values may lead someone to judge it as a serious issue, support emission reduction policies, choose public transportation, and participate in community cleanup activities. The key idea is that understanding environmental value systems helps us recognize why people think and act differently, encouraging more informed decisions and responsible actions toward a sustainable future. Categories of environmental perspectives. Environmental perspectives describe different ways people understand the relationship between humans and the natural environment. The three major categories are technocentric, anthropocentric, and ecocentric perspectives. The technocentric perspective believes that environmental problems can be solved through human ingenuity and technological advancement. Key beliefs include confidence in innovation, resource management for human benefit, and continued economic growth. Examples include renewable energy technologies, carbon capture systems, geoengineering solutions for climate change, and green industrial innovations. For instance, developing more efficient solar panels reflects a technocentric approach to sustainability. The anthropocentric perspective places humans at the center of environmental decision-making. Nature is valued primarily for its contribution to human well-being and development. This perspective often emphasizes public health, poverty reduction, economic growth, and resource management that benefits society. For example, protecting forests because they provide clean water, livelihoods, and recreational opportunities demonstrates an anthropocentric viewpoint. The ecocentric perspective recognizes that all living and non-living components of ecosystems possess intrinsic value, independent of human use. It emphasizes biodiversity conservation, ecological balance, animal welfare, and living within environmental limits. Examples include protecting endangered species, supporting deep ecology principles, and preserving ecosystems even when there is no direct economic benefit to humans. In summary, technocentric perspectives trust technology, anthropocentric perspectives prioritize human welfare, and ecocentric perspectives value nature for its own sake. Understanding these perspectives helps us appreciate diverse viewpoints and make more balanced and informed decisions for a sustainable future. Perspectives change over time. Environmental perspectives and the beliefs that support them are not fixed. They evolve as societies gain new knowledge, experiences, and respond to changing social and environmental conditions. First, perspectives change because individuals are exposed to new information, scientific evidence, education, and life experiences. Interactions with different cultures and viewpoints also encourage people to reconsider existing beliefs. For example, learning about the impacts of climate change may motivate someone to adopt more sustainable lifestyle choices. Several factors drive these changes. Government campaigns and policies influence public attitudes through awareness programs, environmental regulations, sustainability goals, and incentives such as subsidies for renewable energy adoption. Non-governmental organizations, through environmental education, advocacy, community engagement, and partnerships, also play a significant role in shaping public opinion. Additionally, social and demographic changes, including urbanization, improved education levels, changing social values, and population diversity, contribute to evolving perspectives. A clear example is society's changing attitude toward single-use plastics. In the 1990s, plastic was widely viewed as cheap and convenient. During the early 2000s, increasing scientific evidence highlighted its environmental impacts. In the 2010s, government and NGO campaigns encouraged behavioral change. Today, there is stronger support for reusable alternatives and policies aimed at reducing plastic consumption. The process of change typically begins with new information, followed by discussion and reflection, leading to revised values, altered attitudes, changes in behavior, and ultimately positive impacts on society and the environment. Understanding that perspectives change over time encourages open-mindedness, effective communication, and collective action toward a more sustainable future. Application skills, interpretation of behavior time graphs. Behavior time graphs help us understand how human behaviors change over time, and how factors such as education, policies, technology, and shifting perspectives influence these patterns. The first example shows a reduction in smoking rates from 1990 to 2030. The downward trend suggests that government awareness campaigns, health education programs, increased taxation on tobacco products, and smoking restrictions in public places have successfully influenced healthier choices. The second example illustrates a decline in littering incidents over time. This trend may result from recycling initiatives, school-based environmental education, improved waste disposal facilities, and greater community participation. For example, introducing more recycling bins in schools often encourages responsible waste management behaviors. The third graph highlights a decline in meat consumption. Growing awareness of climate change, concerns about animal welfare, health considerations, and the availability of plant-based alternatives have influenced dietary choices. This demonstrates how environmental values can shape personal lifestyles. The fourth example examines changes in indigenous traditional lifestyles, showing a decrease in traditional practices alongside an increase in modern lifestyles. Urbanization, technological advancement, media exposure, formal education, and economic opportunities contribute to these shifts. When interpreting behavior time graphs, important skills include identifying trends, recognizing increases or decreases, explaining causes of behavioral change, connecting perspectives with actions, and predicting future patterns. Overall, behavior time graphs provide valuable insights into how human actions evolve and support evidence-based decision-making for a more sustainable future.